Hello everyone, happy July to you. Today is July 16th, 2022, and it is the most uncomfortable July day here in New York City I have felt in over 60 years. The humidity is nearly 90%, the temperature is nearly 90 degrees. Oh my gosh, but that did not stop me from going out and taking photographs today. What is the main focus of today's topic? Yesterday, I was a little taken back by an email I got from a photographer out in the Midwest. I'm not going to name names, but this photographer who has emailed me in the past, at least one at a time, about questions about gear, etc. And you guys are free to email me anytime you want. blackandwhitephoto@aol.com. And I will absolutely answer your questions within a day. If I do not know the answer off the top of my head, I will research it and I will ask my fellow photographers here in New York, and we will put our heads together and we will give you an accurate answer. Okay. So, back to this email from the photographer in the Midwest. I'm not even going to say the state because this person was a little disturbed. Here's what I'm getting at. This photographer, who is a little younger than me, said, you know, I have photographed my town. This person's landlocked. There's not even a lake near where they live, so it's just prairie, right? And roads and small towns. The person said, I really don't have a lot of money to travel, so I really am just stuck photographing my town, my area. Well, we had a email back and forth for about an hour. And what I had mentioned to this photographer is, photography is the answer to boredom. It is the antidote to boredom. And we went through all the things to break out of being bored with your photography, this beautiful art that we have. So first I said, go to my website, CarmineTaverna.com. It's a free website. I don't sell anything. It's just a place that has thousands of my photographs, and it'll give you ideas on what to photograph and the gear that I used. So the person said, yeah, I went there and I did do some macro photography. I said, oh, that's perfect. That's the perfect exit to boredom in photography, is macro photography. So they said they did that. They did the bugs. They did fruit with some insects on it, wasps and hornets and bees and things. And that was great. And flower macro. And then they said, but that didn't help them with their boredom of just not knowing what the heck to photograph. And I told this person, I said, everyone, every photographer, every person that has held a camera in their hands, like this Konica Auto S2 rangefinder 35mm camera, everyone has had a period in their photography journey, their art journey, that they got bored. They just didn't know what to photograph. So we discussed back and forth the different options, and they knew about them. So I said, okay, I'm going to pull out my ace from my hat, and this is what I want you to do. I said, do you have, what's your gear? What lenses do you have? So the person said a nice array of everything from ultra wide angle fisheye all the way up to beautiful telephoto lenses. And I told this person, look, you have no idea If you photograph the same thing with different focal lengths, it's a completely different photograph. Completely. For example, this little beauty right here, right? This is the Olympus EPL6, right? With the VF2 electronic viewfinder, right? That slips on and off. And this is the key right there. That's a 9mm lens. Now, 9mm focal length on a micro four thirds camera or beast four thirds camera sensor, right, is an 18mm, which is very wide. So I said, this is what I want you to do. Whatever lens you use to photograph your town, and there's some very, very interesting things in this person's town, but they don't see it. They see it through the eyes of somebody that was born there and has driven by it since they were born, through their teens and through their 20s and 40s and 50s. They've seen it. But I go, you'll see it through different eyes. All you have to do is see it through a different focal length. So we discussed, said, did you ever photograph? There's this one particular building that I would love to photograph. It reminds me of an old Western movie. I said, did you ever photograph that with your fisheye, with your ultra wide, getting really close to it and getting the facade in a different perspective, or going across the street and getting it almost lost in the sea of other buildings? Have you ever done that? No. I says, well, what have you photographed it with? He says, well, the normal lens, right? Now this is back to the Konica film camera. This is the Auto S2 rangefinder, probably the best, most beautiful, most accurate, most sharp rangefinder 35mm you will ever buy for under $100. Listen to me, I'm a photographer for over 5 decades, and I have owned almost everything. This is better than a Leica. This Konica Auto S2, and if you go on eBay, has a little secret. Don't search for Auto S2. Search for Konica Auto S5. Here's why. You see the font that they used for Auto S2? It looks like an S5. So somebody that doesn't know this camera will go, okay, it's an Auto S5 or 5S or 5.2. Search all of those in eBay. That's how I got this for cheaper than chips. All right. It was mint. It still is mint condition. Okay. But anyway. So this person has photographed their town and the landscapes, right? Just using their standard 50, right? Roughly 50mm lens. I said, now, after you have photographed it for years with your normal lens, right? Let's say it's a 50. Go back, photograph it with your ultra wide. And then I want you to do 2 more things. I want you to re-photograph everything you just did at night when the sun has set and it's ultra, ultra dark, like around midnight, if it's safe to do that in your neighborhood. Bring your tripod and photograph the same buildings, the same landscapes at night. If you don't have a built-in light meter, grab a Sekonic handheld light meter for accurate exposures. Okay? So now we have the person has photographed the same thing for years with their standard lens. Now I have them going back and photographing it with their ultra wide lens. Okay? Then I have them going back and photographing it at night. Same photographs at night, different dynamic. Then I said there's one more thing I want you to do. I want you to get your telephoto. And I want you to photograph that same landscape with your telephoto lens. Now in this case, this is the Olympus, right? This is the OMD E-M1 Mark II. And this is the Olympus lens 100 to 400 telephoto, optical image stabilization, built-in IBIS, okay? And I want you to photograph these same scenes with your telephoto lens. The compression of the scenery will make it a completely different photograph. And then do the same thing at night. Take nighttime telephoto landscape photographs of your town, okay? This is what keeps your photography interesting, okay? Now in my case, right, I do the same thing. I think about where am I going to go that I've never been before. Well, that doesn't exist unless I get in a plane and fly somewhere new, right? So I have to think, keeping your art fresh, right? So in this case, because of the Olympus cameras, right, I'm not positive what other cameras have it, but this has the art setting right here, art, right? Which does, depending on the camera, depending on the Olympus camera, gives you anywhere from 6 to 30 different photoshopped artistic images of the same shot. So you put it on bracket, you put it on art setting, and it'll list you want to take it just in this one particular type, like sepia or black and white or high contrast, right? Or you can go all the way to the bottom with these Olympus cameras and click bracket, which means you take one picture and it will Photoshop them in the camera on board in all of the art filters, okay? And you don't have to do anything but concentrate on your framing and your exposure and what lens you're going to use, right? Your focal length. And then when you get back home, you will see your same old boring town in completely different light. So what I'm about to show you now is photographs that I took this morning using the Olympus OMD E-M1 Mark II with this telephoto lens and the art setting, the art filters in bracket. This way, when I got back home this morning, I went through them all and said, wow, nothing looks the same. I photographed this particular park that you're going to see. It's called Wolf's Pond here on Staten Island, right? I photographed it since I picked up a camera at like what, 10 years old. So for 60 years, I've been photographing this park. But through the eyes of either an ultra wide angle, right? Like this 9mm. Or if you've never shot film with your rangefinder, the Konica Auto S2, your art filters and your different focal lengths, right? Super telephoto. By the way, this telephoto, it says the max is 400mm, but on a micro four thirds sensor, you double it, so it's an 800mm lens. So here's the end of today's lesson, right? We went about 13 minutes or so. Don't get bored, because that's the fast road to putting down your camera forever. Don't get bored. Fight it. Say, okay, what did Carmine from New York say? Let's get a wide angle lens. Let's grab a fisheye lens. Let's grab an ultra telephoto lens. And you don't have to travel in a plane or on a bus to another place. You can photograph the same things in your town that you photographed before, but with different eyes. Okay? It'll look completely different. It'll look better. And you'll go, wow, I never thought of that. Especially the wide angle and the night photography shots of the same town, right? Give it a try. Let's try and not get bored with your photography. Okay? A lot of us cannot travel far because of course it's cost it prevents you from traveling a lot. Okay? So let's use our mind to expand different looks of the same thing, and you will be amazed. So let's look at the photographs right now I took of this park that I have been to. I tried to calculate, I don't know, about 700 times in my lifetime. Okay? But when you put different eyes on, meaning your lens or art filters or Photoshop it different ways, it changes completely as if it is a new place. All right, guys, let's look at the photographs right now. Don't get bored with photography. Don't give up. Hang in there. It's only going to get better.